Hello, this is Vivica Williams, and you're watching Head to Head. The Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe has adopted the resolution on the crisis in the Sea of Azov and the Kerch Strait. At the same time, PACE did not specifically use the term prisoners of war in regards to the 24 sailors being held by Russia. So what does the resolution mean, and will it help with the release of the Ukrainian sailors? To discuss this, we're joined in the studio today by Bohdan Kryklyvenko, co-founder of the Ukrainian Institute of Human Rights. Hello, and thank you for being with us today.
Hello.
So this PACE winter session has had a lot of development, and specifically been around Ukraine and this issue that with Russian aggression. And one of the major things we want to get right to talking about, the discussion that we've had a lot in the office, is the significance of not having the term prisoner of war.
Yeah, really, it's just a few sentences. As previously, in the first version of draft of such resolution, which already was adopted today with full majority of 103 members of the Assembly, adopted this resolution. Yes, the first wording was including the specific term in accordance with Geneva Convention, the prisoners of war. And it was long discussion, and for that moment now we have some type of compromise where we can't find concrete two words as a prisoners of war, but we found the relevant points about using of Geneva Convention. And the question which you said in the beginning, that it will help or not for releasing. So the first sentences, the Assembly urged Russian Federation to immediately release Ukrainian servicemen. So it's a key message that here is presence or absence of such wordings. The main point that these 24 Ukrainians should be immediately released, and this is a key point in such resolution.
And we see then when it comes to how they should be treated, and that's when we go with the idea of the Geneva Conventions.
Yeah, in the end of the sentence, we also can find the point that the relevant provisions of such Geneva Convention should be applied for these 24 persons. So it's for the experts.
In de facto,
the experts in international humanitarian law, it's very clear
that in de facto they are prisoners of war if they are to be treated by Geneva Conventions.
Yeah, but in the same time, it was a position from the Russian side not to have this concrete wording in this resolution, and so that's why we have such compromise.
Now, does Russia have voting rights, or
no.
how were they able to have such a strong say in the?
So it's a high-level diplomacy. So of course, even they are absent in the plenary, and their absence of right to vote during this session of Assembly, it does not mean that they don't have any consultation in this regard, because here the 2 pages of the text were 2 states named, so the Russia Federation and Ukraine. And Ukraine and Ukrainian delegation, including the civil society representatives, are very active in Strasbourg these days, and I'm sure that also not publicly and not officially in the framework of voting process, but the Russian Federation representatives also very active in this process.
Now, so what impact then will this have? Or first of all, actually, I want to finish. I had another question on that. Was there a concern if the term prisoners of war was included that this resolution would not pass? Or was this specifically taken out from the pressure, so to speak, from Russia?
From my point of view, here, not only in this resolution, but in previous resolution from the 19th of December, the UN General Assembly resolution, and after that, on 22nd of December, one more General Assembly resolution related to the human rights situation in Crimea as a part of Ukraine. We have very strong messages and wording related to the inhuman degrading treatment, human rights violation in Crimea and around this militarization process of the Azov and Black Sea. But unfortunately, the Russian Federation totally ignored her international obligation in this process. So they did not implement or executed the order of International Court of Justice since April 2017. So we see the high-level documents which call Russian Federation to implement international obligation, to release people, to stop torture, and to stop other very serious violation of human rights related to Ukrainians in Crimea or related to Ukrainians in other part of the region.
But what we're seeing with this is that Russia does not follow these or does not comply with them. There's no, since they don't care about these international obligations, these calls from the UN, from different organizations. So how can this resolution make a difference?
I think they really care, but they don't want to execute it. So, because also these days in the Strasbourg showed that they really care. They try to fight even for these two words as a prisoners of war. So they are caring. It's of course the whole international system. I mean the protection of human rights. It's not a very quick system which can show us very quick results so from today for tomorrow. It's a long story, and one day I'm sure that we will see the answers, and we will see that the Russians should be responsible for such human rights violation in regard to Ukrainians. So of course today and yesterday and many days tomorrow.
I mean, it's very,
we have to work to collect all these evidences, international documents, which fixing this situation what we have today. And in years we will see in one or another international court or some specific tribunals, we will see the Russians in the room who will
answer for this.
Of course.
And let's talk about the other parts of the resolution, because this was the resolution is about the crisis situation, which was a major turning point. This was, of course, to remind our viewers, November 25th, when Russia blatantly attacked 3 ships, the Bohdan, the Nikopol, and the Yanni Kapu, that had 24 plainly Ukrainian sailors on board, and took them as prisoners of war. So the resolution tackles both the fact that about these prisoners of war as well as about the situation itself. So what else was included in the resolution addressing the tension that's in the Azov and Black Seas?
The very important point also we can find that the Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe calls the international body to make all necessary efforts to provide monitoring visits and to meet with these 24 Ukrainian sailors. Because as we know, the 3 of them were wounded during this attack. And today we received concerned information that they already Russians already have the plans to transfer them from the hospitals without. They still in the need of medical assistance, but Russians made a decision that it's enough already. They are alive and it's okay, and it's already time to transfer them to regular prisoners from the medical.
Right, it's to the Lefortovo pretrial detention center, which has no infirmary, has no medical.
And we here have the call that the Council of Europe Committee of Prevention of Torture should organize the visit and meet with them, because it's also the very important question: what the situation was, how they during their capture. So, if these 3 men were wounded, in which conditions they were transferred to the prison, or they received needed medical assistance, or they were in the situation close to the torture or inhuman degrading treatment. So it's everything. It's a question for investigation for international Committee of Prevention of Torture, and it's very important point. Also here we can find that the Parliamentary Assembly calls the special monitoring mission of OSCE, of Organization of Security,
to start covering the Black and Kerch Sea as well.
Absolutely, to start the monitoring additional of this part, and also.
Let's talking about the monitoring. Let's stay with that for just a second. We know that Germany and France really wanted to they send monitoring missions, and this was something that Russia was opposing. They said there was.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Crimea is totally island today, island and isolation from any international presence and any international monitoring. What is the real situation with the human rights? We have a very good activist from the civil society who, with personal, very high risk, sending information reports to the Kyiv and provide information what the situation really is. But the many years after occupation of Crimea, we still have no any possibility to provide international monitoring mission from UN, Council of Europe, or OSCE, or any other trusted organization who can go and who can monitor the situation. We can find the same call in the General Assembly of United Nations resolution to provide, to open the possibility and to provide international monitoring, what's the real situation. And also one of the ideas that to pass control for the Kerch Strait to the third state, not to Ukraine and not to Russian, who will be objective in this process and who will keep
control the freedom of navigation when we're out of
absolutely. And one more very important point that Parliamentary Assembly said one more, that the breach in this Kerch Strait is illegal and it's provide additional tensions to the regions. So we see one more the points what we already saw in other documents, not on the level of Council of Europe, and this is very good because we see that UN and Council of Europe stand on the same position to secure the Ukrainian sovereignty and territorial integrity in such conflict and aggression from the Russian side.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Unfortunately, we're out of time. However, we will definitely make sure to have you back on to discuss further developments when it comes to this resolution and other findings from PACE. Thank you very much. And that was Bohdan Kryklyvenko, co-founder of the Ukrainian Institute of Human Rights. Thank you for watching and stay tuned with UATV for more.